Yeah. All right. It's about to drop. It's about to drop. Welcome back, people. This is the Open Mind Podcast. This is a series on mental health on the network of Dreams to Reality. I am Annabelle, your host, and I have the beautiful Danny DeVoe as my co-host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Again, she is a clinical therapist. And today's episode, I'm very excited to go over this topic as I feel it's a topic that many people deal with, and that is anxiety.
Yes.
So let's get into it. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us again. We appreciate you guys joining in and getting this information to kind of support your own process of healing.
Yes. So I'm really excited about this show. I know when we talked about getting the show started, we talked about how having a series on mental health would impact and help a lot of people, as I feel that it's a epidemic of mental health issues. So we've tackled anger was the first one. The second show was on depression, and today is on anxiety. And I think those are some of the most top mental health issues or topics that a large majority of people can connect with. We've all experienced some form of anger.
Yes.
We've all experienced some form of depression or sadness.
Yes.
And we've all experienced some form of anxiety. It comes in a lot of different ways. And the reason why I wanted to tackle this subject in particular is because I feel that anxiety is very connected to fear.
100%.
And fear and anxiety, if you do not know how to cope with it, how to overcome it, how to create your life where you can still accomplish your goals, it'll freeze you. It'll stop you from accomplishing your goals. And the Dreams to Reality Network is about that, helping people accomplish their life goals, their dreams. And I know that anxiety could be a detriment to that. Speaking personally about my own life, I know there was many years in my life where I hesitated to act on things that I needed to do because that anxiety was there, So let's get into it. As a clinical therapist, what is anxiety? Where does it come from? Yeah. And what are some of the signs that people could tell that they're dealing with a severe anxiety issue?
Well, anxiety is information to our body, to our survival mechanism. From the caveman era, we needed anxiety to know when there's a threat, when there's danger. So anxiety is important.
Yes.
It is a cue to your body to know, hey, I'm in danger.
Yes.
So we all naturally have intuitive anxiety.
Yeah.
It's when it becomes a hindrance into your daily functioning that it becomes something that's diagnosable.
Yeah, one of my favorite books, and actually my favorite author, Robert Greene, wrote this book with 50 Cent, and it's called The 50th Law. And he originally wrote this book on power called The 48 Laws of Power. And then he wrote this book with 50 Cent after following him for about 2 years. He followed his life. He asked him about his upbringing, and he watched him make these crazy deals, and I think he sold like vitamin water at that time to who was it? I can't remember the big corporation, but he made all kinds of money. And just the way that he acted, he felt that 50 Cent acted with no fear, and he talks about fear. The whole book is about fear, and it's my favorite book.
Sounds really good. I would love to read
and
it.
It looks like a Bible. It's like black, and it's got like the gold trim with the little gold. It's a
the
super
aesthetics.
It's a beautiful book, and it's really good. But I remember the opening to that book really captured my attention because he talks about how in the beginning when we're born, we only have two fears as a baby. We're afraid of loud noises, and we're afraid of falling. And then as we develop everything else in our life, our fears, we kind of develop amongst ourselves, through our experience, through our life, and through our DNA. So I do know that anxiety can be partly genetic.
Oh, for sure.
If your dad and your mom suffer with social anxiety and you're more predisposed to have those same symptoms. And the problem is that, like you said, it is a survival tactic. Yes, you are supposed to feel fear and anxiety, but you're supposed to make rational decisions based on the situation.
Yes.
So we have not evolved that much. We are still Homo sapien. We are still a highly evolved species, primate. And, our biology doesn't change. So back in the day, a freaking bear or a lion, or we're getting chased by dogs or some crazy animal or an opponent from a different tribe's trying to kill you or take your stuff, those fears pop up, and they are good because you're supposed to use it to stay vigilant, to stay awake, to have more energy, to survive, either to run or to fight. That's the fight or flight.
Yes. Or freeze.
Or freeze.
Or fawn.
Yes. There's all those responses.
Yes.
But the goal here is to give people tools that will help them in the positive direction.
Yeah. And we're going to get into a lot of that today. We're going to get the support of how to manage some anxiety. Again, I want to put this disclaimer. If it is an interference in your life and these techniques aren't supporting you, it is beneficial to have a supportive system to express to talk to.
Yeah.
Like a therapist or a clinical psychologist or someone in that sense that knows how to manage it and how to support you in it. Because most of your friends and family are either experiencing it themselves and don't know how to manage it.
Yeah.
And then trying to give advice.
It's like telling your broke friend, hey,
Not
man,
gonna
how do you
work.
make money?
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You can try.
Yeah, I'm going to go ask the homeless guy, like, hey, man, how do you become a millionaire?
How do you survive? So that I just kind of want to state, but we're going to get into the support systems of how to deal with certain types of anxiety, breathing techniques, some grounding techniques that I utilize in my practice that are super beneficial to my clients.
Yeah.
General anxiety disorder is one of the primary, along depression, is one of the primary diagnoses that I work with because it's so prominent. Everyone's experiencing it. People aren't noticing what is actually happening with them on a daily basis. And that integrates some of the anxiety because it's a lack of control within your environment.
Yeah.
Which triggers it. So our brain takes like you said, right? A bear coming into a camp back in the caveman days. Yeah. Well, now they're going to be hypervigilant of another bear coming in, or say someone raids their camp and they are now hypervigilant of that threat.
Yeah.
Sometimes that threat can be an interference with your daily functioning because if you actually allow that to take over, that's going to consume you. Instead of knowing how to control it and take initiative on it, it is going to interfere with your life and it's going to be a hindrance.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of be able to sit with ourselves and know what is the information coming. And anxiety overestimates the threat, but it actually underestimates your ability to do something about it.
Yeah.
And so your body is like, you can't do this, run, get out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I personally started to experience, general anxiety disorder and social anxiety disorder at a very, very young age. And I remember when I first started to feel those feelings, I didn't know what it was. I thought I was just like,
a lot of people don't.
I was like scared. Like it was weird. Like I would start, my hands would get very, very sweaty and clammy. I was like shaky and stuff. Like this fear in the pit of my stomach. I felt like passing out, like I couldn't breathe. My heart rate was going up. I just literally felt like I was dying, and nothing was going on. I'm sitting in my chair in a classroom full of students, the teacher's talking about a lesson, and I'm over here feeling like I'm going to fucking die, and my thoughts were like, what is going on? I'm sick. And I became like a hypochondriac. I started like, there's something wrong with my heart. There's something wrong with my lungs. There's something wrong with this, something wrong with that. And, I learned ways to cope with it. But I was such a small kid at the time that I didn't reach out to anybody. I didn't ask help from anybody. I just dealt with it. And
you also had a fear that was triggering it because you have a heart issue, right?
Yeah, I was born with a heart murmur.
So that fear was consuming you as a kid.
Yeah, it's a fear of something that is unknown.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I know I was born with this heart condition. Am I going to die? It's unknown.
It's unknown.
So it causes that anxiety, right?
Yes.
And the problem was that I just carried this with me throughout my childhood into my adulthood. And when I became an adult, guess what happens? Real fucking problems, like actual problems and actual situations you have to deal with.
Interference with your life functioning.
And then I always call it my monkey on my back, because I always felt that anxiety, like they're like this weird thing, and it would prevent me from acting on a lot of things that I felt I should have done, but I didn't, because I felt like I was gonna die. Like I thought I was
It
like,
paralyzed you.
and it got really bad to the point where I had moved out here to California on my own, because my parents were from Minnesota when I was 18, and I was crashing on my friend's couch, for like 6 months, and then I started working. And, I had a band, and I was touring all over the place. So I was burning the candle at both ends, as you like to say. And then that anxiety crept up really, really hard, to the point where my world became closed off. Like I went to get my hair cut, and I got a panic attack. Like I literally felt like I was going to die, and I left like midway through the haircut.
Wow.
I told them I gotta go. They're like, what the hell's wrong with this kid?
Yeah.
And I left, and I remember, like, I was like, fuck, I felt like I was dying. And then, like, I went into the room, and I just, like, laid in bed, and, like, all I wanted to do was just be secluded, not see anyone.
It was safe.
Yeah, and then I went to Walmart. I got a panic attack. I can't go to Walmart anymore. I go to Pizza Hut. I get a panic attack. I can't go to Pizza Hut no more.
Yeah, you
And eventually,
associate it.
you become like a hermit, where you're just in your home. You're not doing anything. You're not accomplishing any goals. You become a lost soul, a slave in your own body and your own mind.
Yes.
And I was so bad that I quit my job. That's how bad my anxiety was. I quit my band. I left my girlfriend, and I went back to Minnesota. I went back to Minnesota. I went to the doctor. Every doctor told me there's nothing wrong with you.
Just anxiety.
You have anxiety. And they gave me Zoloft. And that shit made me feel like a zombie. Yeah, it was weird. I was like, hell no.
Yeah.
Then they gave me Xanax, and that made me feel weird too.
A little jittery.
And then they gave me something called, I can't remember the name of it.
Lexapro?
No, it was a different one. I think it starts with a P. But anyways, they gave me these pills, and I felt like they were just numbing me, but they weren't solving the problem.
Exactly.
And I remember the day I was in Minnesota for about 2 months trying to fix this anxiety issue that I had. And I was like 19 at the time, 18, 19. And I became furious. I became angry.
Of course.
And I was like, I hate this. Like, why do I feel like this? Like, why did this is happening to me? And I got all the pills that they gave me, and I flushed them down the toilet. Wow. And I was in the shower, and it was so bad that I had to shower sitting down. Like, I couldn't shower standing up.
You're so stimulated.
Yeah, it was bad. And I got angry. I bought a ticket back to California. I told my mom, like, I'm going to figure this out. Like, I can't live my life being a slave in my own head and in my body. And that was kind of actually a catalyst into my journey into the self-help world, into personal development. And I became a fanatic on understanding the mind, understanding psychology, understanding success. I read man, I can't even think about how many books I read, how many courses I took. I invested a lot in fixing myself. And I got all the tactics, the breathing techniques, the grounding techniques, that technique, this technique. And I realized, I can be in control of my life. I can fight this little monkey on my back. And I thought I had fixed it. But to be honest, I had kind of just put like a Band-Aid on it.
Yep.
Because every 6 months it would come back. It would be gone for 6 months, and then boom, out of nowhere, come back. I'm like, shit, here it is again. And not until this last traumatic experience that I went through with a divorce and a bunch of other stuff that happened in my life that led me to, I guess you could say, mentally the worst position I've been in my life. At that point, I was diagnosed with severe depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder.
Wow.
And I was worse than I was when I was 18.
Well, yeah, because you had a lot of trauma that you went
But I
through.
had a lot more responsibility. I couldn't quit my job.
No.
I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that.
Survive.
And I had I was so overwhelmed. And at this point, they did give me Lexapro. And I tell people, do what you need to do to fix yourself. But to me, it was a miracle drug. It literally took the anxiety and just threw it out. And I was like, oh, shoot. And on top of that, I have all this knowledge that I've gained because I was looking for truth, that I've been able to apply both the information that I have on mental health, psychology, mindset, all of that with the help of the medication. And together it was a good combination to where now I could have easily been a hermit in Minnesota right now, living in my parents' basement, not doing anything, and now I don't have anybody here. I'm alone in California, I have like 3,000 jobs.
You have
I
more
have
than
a
that.
podcast network. I do a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't even think about the anxiety anymore. I still get nervous. I still get scared. I still get angry. I still get all the emotions that everybody feels.
But it doesn't paralyze you.
Yeah. And I think that to me is success.
Yes.
For me, I am proud of what I've accomplished because I know what I've been through. And a lot of times people, they don't give themselves enough credit, you know, for what they've accomplished.
Well, and I agree with that because you had the knowledge, but you did the work to be present to what was coming up around the anxiety. That is the key.
Yeah.
Now, the medication definitely helped you bring that in.
Yeah.
But all of that self-help and the tools and all of that, you were able to then utilize it and implement it. And I love how you said the anxiety is always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's part of our conditioning as humans.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, I saw this meme and I've been using it with my clients and they love it. It's kind of like you are sitting in front of your computer and you need to send an email. But your brain doesn't know that you need to send an email versus a bear coming in and attacking you.
Yeah.
And they're correlated as if it's the same thing, the same threat.
Yeah.
Because our brain is doing what it needs to do to protect you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, our brain doesn't know that it's a threat. Our physiological form goes into automatic like, this is dangerous. This is scary for me. And it hyper stimulates our nervous system, our sympathetic nervous system, our amygdala. It gets stimulated.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that it doesn't know that it's just an email.
Yeah.
So the real awareness around it is saying, okay, this is just an email. I'm not in danger.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part of labeling the information.
Yeah.
Labeling the fear. Because anxiety is trying to be in control.
Yeah.
It's chasing control. And a lot of anxiety is unknown. It's the fear of the unknown to come.
Yeah.
What am I going to drive into? What am I going to enter into in my home? What is this job going to say? Oh, I have to meet with my boss. What are they going to do? What are they going to say to me?
Yeah.
All of that is natural anxiety.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of people's philosophy on, like this. There's like this huge movement on being present and thinking of, being in the now.
Oh, mindfulness.
Like Eckhart Tolle and all their work is amazing, But I don't take everything exactly literal because you have to prepare for the future. You have to look at the past to learn, to study it and be like, I'm not going to repeat that, or I am going to repeat that because it was successful or it was not successful. Yes, you are working and you are living in the present moment, but it is okay to go into the past to learn.
Yes.
And it is okay to go into the future and prepare and plan and create your plan for that.
Yes.
The problem that I personally have, that I think most people do, is that we're looking at the world through a negative scope. So we look at the past and it becomes sadness. We look at the future and it becomes fear or anxiety. Instead of looking at the future, like imagine right now if you look into your future and you see $10 million in the bank, a brand new house,
it'll happen.
Then you wouldn't be scared, would you? You'd be excited.
Yeah.
But most people look at their future and they're scared as shit.
Yeah, but because 90% of our unconscious is negative.
That's what I'm saying. It's to me it was like having a positive mindset is very, very difficult. And it's like what's the word I'm looking for? Like showering. It's like hygiene. It's like hygiene. You have to be aware of it and you have to maintain it every day with every thought that you have, until it becomes second nature. It's like driving a car. When you first learn to drive a car, you have to think about it. You have to think like, okay, let me put it in park. Let me take my foot off the brake, slowly press. Me now, I could be like half asleep. I'll get in the car, turn that shit on and drive like nothing,
Yeah, automatic.
Sometimes I get to work and I don't even know how I got here.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's automatic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a positive mindset can be developed to the point where it's automatic or second nature or a habit, however the hell you want to say it, the word you want to use. But the hard part is in that consistency to get it to be a second nature.
Well, you're rewiring the brain. So the biggest thing that I work with my clients on, there's a big thing of black and white thinking, this all or nothing kind of component where it has to be one way or it has to be another. And with my clients, I guide them into going, okay, where is this being triggered? What is coming up? What of our past has it triggered? Am I feeling fearful because I'm about to go on this date and I'm afraid someone's going to hurt me, like my past and etc.? Okay, we have to come back and go, okay, that's my fear. Label it, acknowledge it. The second is, okay, this is something I'm scared of happening, but right now that's not the reality, because the fear of the unknown is living in the future. It's not being present. And so having to coach yourself through that process of like, I'm not going to end up in the same thing. I know information from my past. I've learned certain things, and so I'm not going to repeat them, and I have to trust myself.
Yeah.
But the biggest part of it is meeting in the gray. Mm-hmm. What is the middle ground? Okay, yeah, I'm afraid this is going to happen. Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to go into my meeting with my boss and I'm going to get fired. Okay, well, based on evidence, I've been doing really well.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the space that they would fire me. So I have to go in and trust that in this moment, it's just a fear.
Yeah.
That's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But it takes, like you said, rewiring, practice.
Yeah.
And it comes automatic.
And then there's obviously certain situations where no matter what you're thinking, you're going to have that anxiety lingering. Mm-hmm. And like I tell every guest before I record, I'm like, I'm always nervous for the first 2-3 minutes, of any recording. Of anytime I hit record on these cameras, or anytime I'm a musician, anytime before I go on stage, like I'm nervous wreck in the back. Anytime I'm doing something that, like if I tell you right now, walk a straight line.
I would be nervous as fuck.
No, you wouldn't. You'd be pretty fine.
But
what if I told you walk a straight line on this pole and it's 10 stories high? If you miss a step, you're going to die.
Fear, yeah.
The risk is a lot higher.
Yes.
So, like we were talking about, in our biology, fear is in us because it's supposed to help us survive. Mm-hmm. So the reason why you fear that is because you know you could possibly die.
Yes.
If I told you walk a straight line here in the carpet, you're like, okay, here's a straight line. Okay, but if I say up there, like, what if I fall? What if the wind comes? What if a bird lands on me and I freaking get startled and fall off? Then you're probably not even going to do it. You're like, I'm not going to do that. You're crazy. Or you'll say, okay, what's the reward? Sometimes you shouldn't walk that freaking line on that edge.
It's dangerous.
You should be like, bro, you're stupid. I'm not going to walk on this straight line on this pole.
Logic.
I can die, But what if they told you on the other side of this straight line you have to walk is $10 million and financial freedom and whatever? Then you're going to outweigh the risk versus the reward. And if you decide to take action, then you cannot take action with fear. And if you do, then you're probably going to fall and die.
Well, you can acknowledge the fear, but don't let it consume you in that moment.
Yeah. So what my question was going to be to you is, for moments where the risks are high, and you have to act with that anxiety in you, what are some of the tools and tactics that you can use to keep it at bay, to where it doesn't become overpowering, to where like me, we had to hit record on this, and we're both a little nervous before we started,
we're both like,
but we didn't run out and say like, I'm going back home.
We're facing it.
Yeah. So give us some tools as far as how to overcome the anxiety when it comes.
Yeah, and I kind of want to add on to what you were saying before I jump into that. Like, even walking the straight line, to you that might not be scary, but to someone else, someone watching them walk a line could be terrifying, because then they're feeling vulnerable. They're afraid of being judged, criticized. Maybe they took the wrong step and now, oh no, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And that goes into a lot of the social anxiety component.
Yes.
So that fear of just walking a straight line versus being on a tightrope could be based on that person's trauma from the past. And that fear could be as equivalent to that fear for you walking on the tightrope to me just walking a straight line right now.
Yeah, you said a word right now,
Mm-hmm.
social anxiety. And that's a little, it's still anxiety, but you tend to get social anxiety when there's a lot of people
Yeah.
around. And from my experience, because I dealt with social
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, is that most people get it because they have a warped sense of their viewpoint on the world.
Mm-hmm.
And most people feel like they're being judged, they're
Yeah.
being looked at, like they probably think I'm
They
weird, they
think
probably
they're
think this
judging.
and
Yeah.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
your internal dialogue is screwed up, you know.
Completely.
And that was me. My internal dialogue was screwed up. Like, oh, you know, I used to be a little chubby kid, a little metalhead, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought like people didn't like me. They thought I was weird, you know. They thought I was like different, and I carried that chip on my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I was in a room with a bunch of people, I felt like an
Outcast.
outcast. You know, I
Yeah.
felt different. I felt like I didn't fit in. I wasn't good enough, you know, to be part of their
Mm-hmm.
little crew.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had this little anxiety whenever I was in a place with a lot of people.
Fear of rejection.
Yeah, the fear of rejection. Like most men, if they're being honest, and they see a beautiful woman that they're attracted to, they are going to have something called approach anxiety when they're first approaching this beautiful female. If they're trying to talk to her, maybe get her phone number, maybe show some interest, maybe just build some rapport, maybe start a friendship, even if it's nothing, you know, sinister,
Yeah.
they're just trying to connect with this other female. And the reason why they have that approach anxiety is because it's biologically wired in their body.
Yeah.
And as a tribal people, if, you know, you grow up in a tribe of 10 people and, you know, you go say hi to a girl and she rejects you, everybody else saw that you
We'll
got
see it.
rejected. Your value as a man is dropped. You're probably never going to have another a female to procreate with, and you're going to die alone, and you're not going to reproduce, and you're not going to
Survival.
have exactly. So every single man still to this day has that anxiety, has that fear. Most men don't go up to women and say, "Hey, my name's this, my name's that."
It's very rare.
It's rare. And on the other hand, women have a different type of anxiety, and it's called last minute resistance. If you're about to make love to a woman for the first time, most women are going to have this rush of fear. Like,
Oh yes, of
oh,
course.
shit, like,
what am I about to do?
what am I doing? Like,
should
this-
I do this?
Yeah.
Do I want to give them
yeah.
this part
Guys
of me?
don't have that, just so you know.
Oh, yes.
we want to
'cause-
make love right away.
Yeah, no, because that is the part of our body that we women bear children. So
Yeah.
when we have sex with a partner,
Yeah.
we're going, oh my God, if I get pregnant, do I really want to? There's so
Yes.
much to it. Do I want to
Yes.
procreate with this person? Am I making this right decision?
Yes.
All the possibilities.
Yes. So my point being
Yeah.
is that social anxiety comes from our perception of the world and our own inner dialogue and our own
Yes.
perceptions that are typically warped. I'll be honest with you. Most people don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves.
I was going to
When
talk
you go
about
out
that.
in a group, like they're not looking at
Yes.
you. They're looking at themselves.
At themselves.
They're looking at the mirror.
Yes.
And they're probably thinking the same thing as you. They're looking at me.
Yes. And that's what I talk to. Okay, so a lot of my clients have general anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, all of those components, separation anxiety, all of those kind of things. Now, social anxiety is more internal.
Yeah.
It's an internal dialogue, an internal fear, where general anxiety disorder is an external fear.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to die. Something's going to happen to me.
Right. Yeah. Good thing you said that, because I was going to mention that it's internal compared to external.
Yeah. And that part where you go into that fear of like, okay, what am I going to do now? You have to go in and challenge that. You have to, like, going up to a girl. Okay, well, I'm going to go up and I'm going to just say hi to her. And then you re-strengthen that muscle within you because it becomes less scary.
Yeah. It's like a sales presentation.
Yes.
Most first year salespeople get very nervous and anxious when they're asking for the sale because they're scared of
You're
rejection.
afraid of the rejection.
And you look at a seasoned salesperson like myself. I don't get scared of that shit. I'll ask for
Yeah,
money
just jump
anytime,
in.
you know?
Yeah.
And you have a sales process. You have, obviously you believe in your product and you believe
You
in your
have to.
services
Yeah.
and you deliver on what you're doing. There's also all the back end stuff, but I'm talking about when you're in the sales presentation. You can have someone that is brand new and someone that is an expert. You can give them the exact same script. You could tell them say the exact same thing and they'll get drastically different results because of their internal dialogue, and they're not congruent, you know, what they're saying, what they're doing based off of what they're
Not
feeling.
alignment. Yeah.
And someone that's a professional has so much repetition. that they are an expert. You know, like sometimes, you know, you'll say, man, you're so good at this. And like, well, yeah, I've been doing it for 25 years. You know, I've been doing it for 15 years. Like, you should be, you know. And then sometimes people, then they just start off, you know, you're going to feel a little bit of fear. You're going to feel a little bit of, but you have to be okay with the process of learning, you know.
Yes. And trusting that part that you're not going to die.
Yeah.
Now,
And
there
if you
are
do,
some situations that
it's all
happen.
good, you know. It's life.
Well, let's try not to.
You know, I lived a good life. Just kidding.
Yeah. But I think there's that part where, like for me, when I'm going on dates, I have to tell myself, okay, because I'm nervous, you know, at first you're meeting someone and I go, okay, just treat them as if they're your client.
Really? You do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
The first initial, like, greet of a client, I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I'm going in.
Oh, I see. It's a little trick you do then.
Yeah,
So
it's a little trick. And then I get in the space and I'm like, okay, great. I release that veil.
Yeah.
Because then it allows me to get through that nervousness. That's my trick.
That's good. Yeah, I'm trying to think what tricks that I use. You know, to me, it's more of breathing, a combination of breathing and thought process. You know, so I'll say certain phrases in my head that get me in a positive mindset. And then I'll do different types of breathing depending on what I'm going to do. If I need to calm down, if I need to get excited, if I need to get pumped up, it's a little bit different breathing, you know, per situation. For me, everybody's different. Everybody has their own ways. And I highly recommend you guys to take some time, listen to what Danny says, but take some time to learn yourself, you know, and what works for you.
Yeah, and what the triggers are and what's coming up, and really just being attuned with it. Again, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But going into that breathing component, it's a nervous system hack that you can lean into to trick the body. We call it biofeedback hack.
Yeah.
There's this part where our limbic system remembers the fear. That's where it stores the memories. We get scared, right?
Yeah.
So our body wants to automatically flight, run.
Yeah.
And so when we're running, we go, we breathe heavily.
Yeah.
So the biofeedback hack is to trick the body into saying, okay, we're not in danger. We're safe.
Yeah.
So you close your mouth, you breathe in 5 seconds, hold 5 seconds, and then release through your nose 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And you do that 3 times. And try it. When you're, especially when you're anxious.
It works magic, to be honest.
It does. It's an instant
It's
fix.
super simple.
It's super simple.
Anybody could do
5,
it.
6.
Nobody even needs to know you're doing it.
No. And then what I like to do with my clients is on the 3rd round that they blow out. Because at that point, their nervous system's calm. Yeah. So they blow out the extra energy.
Yeah. And I mean, this is such a simple, basic tactic and tool that anybody can use. Anytime.
Yeah.
And if you want to do further research on breathing techniques, there's so many different people. I know Wim Hof has this breathing technique, and that dude is ridiculous. Like, he runs ultra marathons with no shoes, no clothes, just some little shorts in like sub-zero temperature. Wow. He goes into the water and just through breathing, he could control his body temperature. And he's shown people how to do what he does with breathing. That's all he does with breathing and his mind. And then there's obviously like pranayama, yoga, and like all these different yoga and yogis and out there. Breath work. There's so much information. And I will say this, that your body is a tool, you know, and if you don't use it the right way, you will get negative symptoms, which will then exacerbate your fears. So when I was, you know, dealing with anxiety, and then I wouldn't sleep very well, I was up all night partying, and you know, I'm out of shape, and I go up a flight of stairs, I get out of breath, my heart rate goes up. Now I'm scared, you know. So sometimes people they're not in good shape, you know. They're just sitting there.
Plays a big part in it.
They're sitting there. And I mean, I don't want to talk bad about people, but there's some people that are very overweight. Or just sitting in a chair, they're breathing like they're running. Yeah. They're probably having really high anxiety because they probably don't feel good in their body. Like, you feel like you're out of breath. They're not in control. You feel like, you know, they try to get up and they're this and that. Like, your body will give you those feedbacks, which then trigger your mind, you know? And I would highly recommend people to focus on not only having a healthy mind, but a healthy body.
Yeah, and what you put in your body really affects the energy, especially with depression and anxiety.
Yeah, I'm over here drinking like 2 Red Bulls and stuff. I'm all talking about be healthy.
Well,
My heart rate's about to like explode.
Yeah, but there can moderation.
Moderation, that's true.
Right? So it's all about balance, but it's about food that you put in. Like if you drink a lot of coffee and you're a highly anxious person, that's going to trigger it.
Yeah.
And working out moves the energy. So it helps and it gives you back the control in your body.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. You're chasing control with anxiety. And so what I do with my clients is I say, okay, acknowledge the emotion, acknowledge the fear. Now, how do we take control of this situation that you're fearing in this moment? Okay, I'm afraid so-and-so is going to, I don't know, give me an example.
Hit me?
Sure. Okay, so I'm afraid so-and-so is going to hit me. Okay, so in this moment, that's a valid fear because your body's going to be in danger.
Yeah.
How can you protect yourself? Okay, well, I can put my arms up or I can leave the situation or I can
hit them first.
Well, then that's an assault. We don't want that. If they hit you, you can hit back.
Okay.
But you go into ways that you can control the scenario.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm afraid they're going to hurt me or they're going to hit me. Okay, how do you assess the room? Look at the room. How do we protect ourselves? Okay, I'm going to have a defense. I'm going to have mace next to me.
Yeah.
Ways to gain control over the fear is how you manage the anxiety. So that's the biggest tactic. That's the biggest tool. But you have to be aware of what the fear is.
Yeah.
And what's triggering it.
Right.
And you have to sit with yourself, which is so uncomfortable for people to do.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Yeah, I've been on many. To me, it kind of helps to walk and think, or to be doing some activity
Movement.
and thinking. Luckily, I love working out and going to the gym.
Yeah.
So that has become my method of meditation. Whenever I work out is where I go into my mind and I ask certain questions. I look for certain answers. It's the way that I kind of process a lot of things that are going on. I look at my goals, what I have to do. I don't write it down. I just go into my head and I do it. But anybody can do it in different ways. Some people go walking. Some people literally just sit in their room and write. And other people like to talk into a camera.
Yes.
Other people like to
voice record. I have clients that voice record to themselves. Yeah.
But I tell people you need to find yourself.
Yes.
I remember one time I was going through a lot and I just started walking. Like it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I just started walking. I didn't get back home till like 5 a.m. Just walking and thinking. And in that walk, I found a lot of answers.
Of course.
And luckily I found the answer that I needed. But sometimes it takes time,
a lot of patience
to find yourself, but
it's a journey. It's an ongoing journey, but it's a daily process.
Right. Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing about anxiety that people don't really talk about is gaining control of the body.
I see. What do you mean exactly?
So we have a lot of symptoms that come with anxiety.
Yeah.
So increased heart rate, you got increased sweaty palms, shortness of breath, trouble of sleeping, excessive worry, things in that component. So everyone's anxiety triggers are very different.
Yeah.
Yours might be the fast heart rate. Okay, that's how I know I'm starting to feel anxious. Or one's might be sweaty palms. That's mine. Yeah. I know I'm starting to get anxious when my palms get sweaty.
Yeah, mine was the sweaty palms. I it wouldn't be a fast heart rate for me. It was like, they call it heart palpitations.
Yes.
Where it's because I have an irregular heartbeat. So whenever my heart beats fast, it palpitates and it feels literally like your chest is coming out. Like you can almost see that shit, like, and it's scary. It's scary.
It is. And so understanding what is happening with the body in that moment.
Yeah.
And where that symptom is coming, that's the first trigger of what's going to happen next. So your limbic system is the first one to get triggered.
Yeah.
The last one is your prefrontal cortex, your cortex. That is the logic, that is thinking, that is time. That's why you lose sense of time when you're in anxiety.
Yeah.
It's and then that's where the crazy thinking comes in, the rapid thoughts,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
That's the last component that comes into reality within the body. So, understanding what physical symptom is happening in your body right now is the key. And then the moment that symptom comes on, breathe, do that breathing 5-5-6 technique to get the nervous system to calm down. And then what I also like to do is the naming game. That's what I call it. And so the naming game with my clients is a lot of the times you're going to see on TikTok is the big one that I keep hearing, the five senses. Don't do the five senses. That just, when you're anxious, you can't even think about your own name. So going and trying to get the five senses to calm yourself down is just going to add.
What's the five senses?
Like sight, sense, like smell, taste, touch,
all
of those. The five senses of yourself, of your body. I just say do two. So put your feet on the ground, make sure you're present, and name objects in the room. So black hat with white, black shirt with yellow, gray wall, white table.
Do you have to say it out loud, or can you just?
You can do it to yourself.
Okay.
You can say it inside. Yeah, you don't want to be inside like a mall or something. Just naming that
People are gonna start thinking you're crazy.
Well, let them if that's the case, because it's about you calming yourself
You're
down.
Like, red hat.
Yeah.
Like, what? You're looking at me.
Blue shirt. So say it inside yourself if you're in an environment. But usually what that happens is it's tricking the brain to get out of the excessive worry and to come back to the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with anxiety is you get trapped in the thought process. And it's a hamster wheel. You can't get off.
Yeah. It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
Yeah. It's more than a cycle. It's a downward cycle. Yes. So what you want to do is reverse it.
Pause it and go up.
To go up, exactly.
Yep. To gain back control.
Those are some really, really good tips that people can utilize. So that's the grounding technique. And the breathing technique. So guys, if you're out there and you're dealing with any form of anxiety, depression, any type of mental health, symptom or disorder or barrier, make sure you reach out to get some help. There are people out there that can give you tools to live a better life. My whole life I've been, as far as I can remember, since I was a little kid, was dealing with some form of mental health issue that I've been able to kind of address and help over my life through reaching out to people and, looking for answers. I know open mind marriage and family therapy is growing.
Yes, we are. We're hiring some therapists.
You're hiring some therapists. Yep. I know you're like fully booked. You got like 10 clients a day. And
it's ridiculous.
It's a good thing. Once the fruits of your labor start to come, it's a great feeling that you're able to help more people.
Yes, that's why I'm doing what I do.
Because we are only one person. I'm only Hannibal. Yes. It's only Danny. So 10 hours a day, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
As more people need help, your business is going to continue to flourish. You guys make sure if you have any questions, you can reach out to Danny.
Yeah, reach out.
On her Instagram, which is
Open Mind. LMFT, I think it is.
Okay, we'll go ahead and tag that. So make sure you guys add her on Instagram and add the YouTube. If you have any friends or family out there dealing with these issues, shoot them the podcast. Shoot them to them. Be like, hey, check this out. I think it might help you.
Important.
In your situation. Share it. Like it. Any type of support that you guys give us, it means a lot for many reasons. Because anytime you like a video, the algorithm will say, hey, more people are watching this, so let's promote it. And, it'll pop up on people's feeds whenever they type in, dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety, I'm dealing with this. It'll populate organically for them to spread the word of what we're doing. Danny, is there any final message you want to give to the people as far as, anxiety or just in general what we're doing?
Yeah, these videos, these informational podcast episodes are really here to help others heal. That is our vision. That is our goal in this process, to have as many people benefit from this as possible and to gain insight, because anxiety, most people don't even know that they have it. until they hear information about it.
Yeah.
So we really just want to give as much power back to the people around their lives and how they want to live it. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for being a part of this with us in this journey of healing. And we are grateful. And again, make sure you like and subscribe, because that's the point.
Yes. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.